Chapter 631. There was no reaction for a long time. There was nothing in front of her. Not to mention a ferocious beast, not even a tiny sparrow could be seen flying. The garden was still full of winter-sweet blossoms and evergreen pines and cypresses, but because it was too cold, all the living creatures had shrunk back into their nests. Woo-woo. Another failure. Arbor threw the ebony talisman into the snow and stomped on it twice to vent her anger. Only then did she angrily run to the Crown Prince's side, allowing him to wrap his arms around her. "Hey, miss, the patterns on this talisman have lost their color." Xiao Yao ran up and picked up the ebony talisman from the snow, shaking it. When Miss first took out the talisman, the ebony was clearly engraved with strange blue patterns. But now, the blue patterns on this piece of wood were gone, leaving only a few faint grayish-brown rune patterns. That's right. This means that the talisman was activated successfully. But nothing was summoned. Just like before, nothing could be summoned. Arbor was furious. Her small hand tugged at the Crown Prince's long hair that hung in front of her eyes as she angrily pouted. "Let's go back, let's go back." The Crown Prince couldn't help but laugh. Holding her small hand, he turned around and walked towards the bedchamber. "Jojo, don't be anxious. Just because you can't summon it now doesn't mean you can't summon it in the future. You're still young. Summoning Blue Luan as an intermediate-level talisman master isn't in accordance with the rules in the first place." Arbor pursed her small mouth non-committally. "Caw." The weak chicken also shook its feathers, looking smug with its head held high and chest puffed out. "Forget it, you can't force anything." The little fellow listlessly drooped her head. "Jojo, I returned the batch of medical books last time and also brought you a few unique copies. Do you want to go back and take a look?" "Okay." Arbor's footsteps paused, and she looked up at him. "The old royal physician is willing to give you such precious unique medical books?" Of course he wasn't willing to give them. But was there any use in not giving them? Humph. Cough. The Crown Prince coughed lightly with a clenched fist, and Huifeng immediately said from the side, "Rest assured, Crown Princess, His Highness the Crown Prince neither snatched nor stole. Those were all brought over to have a look after discussing with the old imperial physician." Besides, the Crown Princess flipped through the books very quickly. She would send the books back to them in no time. The old imperial physicians were very reassured and fought to send it to the Crown Prince consort. As if. "That's good then." Qiao Mu nodded. "Your father has so many concubines in the 3 palaces and 6 courtyards. Those old grandpas are already so old. They usually have to treat the concubines in various palaces and courtyards. It's quite tiring. Don't bully them for no reason." The Crown Prince made a muffled sound and coughed twice. His face was serious, and it was impossible to tell that under his gentle appearance there was a little devil's heart hidden. Sigh, Imperial Physician Qiao is crying so much today. He couldn't let his darling know that he bullied an Imperial Physician. He would send something over to Imperial Physician Qiao tomorrow to express his condolences. Not long after the group left, the snowy ground where Arbor was originally standing suddenly moved, and a small snow bump appeared. Darling Qiao spent the day very leisurely. She read books for half a day and occasionally stared blankly at the Crown Prince's serious expression as he read through the memorials. It wasn't until after dinner that the Crown Prince silently took the cloak handed to him by a royal maid and pitifully glanced at Qiao Mu. "I'm leaving, Qiao Qiao." After saying this, he shuffled away like a turtle, his back lonely and pitiful as he walked outside into the cold wind and snow. Our dear Qiao Mu calmly looked at the sky full of snow outside and suddenly said, "Why don't you stay here and sleep? See you tomorrow, okay?" Chapter 632. Clang. The sound of Huifeng banging against the door abruptly rang out. Then, His Highness the Crown Prince kicked him out of the door, and he rolled into the snow without a sound. With his back to our dear Qiao Mu, the Crown Prince's eyes suddenly lit up like twinkling stars. Stabilizing his facial expression, the Crown Prince turned his head to look at his Qiao Qiao. His phoenix eyes were slightly watery. "Qiao Qiao, really? It's snowing too heavily outside. It won't be convenient for you to walk over. Arba's face was solemn as she walked to the Crown Prince's side and held his hand. You sleep on your own bed, I'll sleep on the couch. No need, no need. You sleep on the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. Emolienne hugged the little fellow and lowered her head to rub against her neck, beaming with joy as she revealed her porcelain-white teeth. After the two of them washed up, they snuggled together and whispered to each other for a while. Arba suddenly thought of something and asked, I heard that great bandit Ding Ting Ding stole something from Consort Zheng. Do you know what it is? The Crown Prince coughed awkwardly. I don't know. You definitely know. Seeing his expression, Arba knew that he was hiding something, so she poked his waist. Hurry and tell me. You said before that you'll tell me everything you know, so you can't hide anything. What kind of hiding was this? The Crown Prince groaned inwardly. He just didn't want to mention Young He's lousy incident. What is it? Seeing the Crown Prince's expression, the more secretive it was, the more curious darling Chow became, and she couldn't help but sound a bit coquettish. Emolienne's heart was about to melt from this little fellow's cuteness, but her expression was a bit awkward. She hugged the little fellow and whispered into her ear, Ding Ting Ding stole Young He's. Her voice trailed off, but darling Chow's eyes suddenly widened. She opened her mouth and yelled, What? He actually stole Young He's belly. The Crown Prince hastily covered her yelling mouth, silencing the little rascal's pocket from her lips. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ding Ting Ding is too deceitful. No wonder Young He views him as a mortal enemy and immediately went to the second prince's estate to capture him. You don't know. The Crown Prince was also a bit angry at the mention of Ding Ting Ding, who would enter every nook and cranny. This stinking bug likes to send invitations before stealing. Xiao Mu widened her pair of watery eyes, looking as if she had not heard this. What? He even sent an invitation to courtesan Zhang, saying that he was going to steal her belly. Xiao Mu whispered into the Crown Prince's ear. Ting ding ting ding ting 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 ding ting ding. Back then, his father had ordered the imperial army to guard the perimeter of Sephora Flower Palace, but even so, that person was still able to come and go as he pleased. I suspect that he either used some kind of special talisman or had some kind of amazing disguise technique, the Crown Prince said with a smile. From then on, Young He hated this person to the core. He's quite interesting. Arba nodded and expressed his opinion. Crown Prince Mo immediately turned vigilant. He cupped her small face and gazed at his darling. I'm telling you, this person is really ugly. With a green face and fangs, he didn't seem like a good person. You can't interact with him, you know? Good boy. Xiao Mu rolled her eyes at him. Why should I interact with him? I don't even know him. Chapter 633. Yes, my Jojo is the most obedient. The Crown Prince was very happy and rubbed his face against her soft little face. Go to sleep. Wake up early tomorrow to cultivate. You've been lazy for a few days, haven't you? Arba puffed up her little cheeks. She had been stuck at a bottleneck for the past few days anyway, so it didn't matter if she cultivated or not. The Crown Prince rubbed her little face in amusement and put her on the big bed. He pulled the blanket over her and leaned over to whisper, All right, go to sleep. Arba closed her eyes, but couldn't help but secretly open one eye to glance at him. She thought that with another person in the room, she wouldn't be able to sleep. Who knew that she would be so careless that she fell into a deep sleep after a while? Sleeping until midnight, Arba felt her little hand itch, as if something was rubbing against her arm. Stop fooling around. Arba waved her hand, but that soft and cool rubbing feeling was intermittent. Her neck started to itch. Arba forced her eyes open and squinted to take a look. At first, she only saw a faint shadow swaying slightly, but when she saw the thing in front of her clearly, she felt a chill all over her body. Instantly, clusters of small goosebumps appeared on her arms. My dear mother, anyone who opened their eyes half asleep and saw a snake as thick as a thumb beside their pillow would be so disgusted that their soul would scatter. Even if this snake was white and slender, with a pure gold 5-star crown on its small round head, it looked extremely beautiful. Even her pair of watery and round amber eyes revealed an adorable and fawning look. Just this alone scared baby Chow half to death. She screamed and jumped up on the spot. Without thinking, she pounced towards the Crown Prince's brocade bed and crashed into his embrace. She hooked her arms around his neck, wishing that she could shrink into his body and completely hide herself. Poor Prince Mo, he was caught off guard. He heard Jojo's cry and was about to sit up when the little fellow pounced on him. He was caught off guard and was pushed to the ground by the little thing. Both of them lost their balance and rolled onto the thick plush carpet, lying on top of each other in a strange position. In the blink of an eye, a loud bang was heard. Xiao Yao rushed into the bedroom to protect the Empress and shouted, "Young miss, don't be afraid. Xiao Yao is here." Behind him, a large group of palace maids and eunuchs followed in. They all carried sticks and shovels in their hands and looked around vigilantly. Thus, he saw his own crown princess and crown prince's unique style. Their upper bodies were on the ground, but their legs were still on the brocade couch. The crown prince's arms were wrapped around the crown princess. His expression couldn't be seen as he was pinned under her. They guessed that the crown prince's mood wouldn't be too good when a group of people came in. That handsome face of his was probably completely black now. Xiao Yao's mouth twitched. She didn't care about anything else and hurriedly ran forward to help Arbor up. She had to protect her master loyally. She definitely couldn't let her master be bullied by the crown prince. Arbor was helped up with a dazed expression. He even stepped on the crown prince's foot in the process. Xiao Yao covered her face and didn't dare to look at the crown prince's expression. "Young miss, are you all right?" Xiao Yao asked in concern. "Don't be afraid. His Highness is just a little anxious. He doesn't have any bad intentions. Please forgive him." The crown prince stood up with a dumbfounded expression. He looked around and realized that the group of palace maids and eunuchs had the same thoughts as Xiao Yao. They were all secretly looking at him with strange expressions. Chapter 634. Your Highness, the Crown Princess is still young. Don't bully her. Xiao Yao whispered. These words sounded like he was in a hurry. Crown Prince Mo felt like he was at a loss for words. Are you all blind? Can't you see that it was your Crown Princess who threw herself at me? All right, you can all leave. The Crown Prince took the little fellow's hand from Xiao Yao's and chased them out. Can't you see that his baby's eyes are still hazy? It's obvious that she still wants to sleep. A bunch of ignorant people chattering here. It'll be dawn soon. Jojo, did you have a nightmare? The Crown Prince held her little hand and carried her to the bed. Sleep a little more. It's all right, it's just a dream. Snake, there's a snake. Arbor hooked her arms around his neck and refused to let go. No matter what, she didn't want to sleep on the bed again. Snake. The Crown Prince hurried forward and checked the inside and outside of the bed. He didn't find anything. The Eastern Palace was cleaned every day. It was always dry and tidy. How could there be a snake? But the little fellow wouldn't speak without thinking. If she said there was a snake, she must have seen it with her own eyes. Don't worry. Emolien carried the little fellow back to the bed by the window. You sleep here first. I'll look around again. Arbor was really sleepy. She fell asleep as soon as her head touched the pillow. It was just that he was frightened halfway through, so he couldn't sleep well. It wasn't until a pair of warm hands brushed her face that Arbor fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, while half asleep, Arbor had a strange dream. In the dream, she saw the little snake slithering in the snow for a while. There was a bulging bag on its head. It looked back at her, its watery eyes full of grievances and pity. The word, summon, was faintly discernible under its slanted crown. Summoned beast. Arbor woke up with a start. Arbor's small hand slammed onto a bulging package, and he was slightly startled. Looking down, wasn't it the floral cloth package that the little snake carried on its belly in his dream? The little guy quivered and his legs trembled as he kicked the bundle off the couch. The opening of the package loosened, and something fell out of the floral cloth package. Gold, silver, jade wares, jade inkstones, incense paper, pearls, emeralds, corals, agates, ambers, ivory, and all kinds of colorful gems. My God, this seemingly unremarkable flower cloth package actually had a hidden treasure inside. Half of the treasures in the palace's treasury had been moved here. Our dear Xiao Mu sat on top of a pile of jewelry that was getting taller and taller. She looked at the jadeite and jade jewelry that was still pouring out of her bag with a stupefied expression. She simply didn't know what to say. Miss Xiao Yao excitedly walked in. Then, her eyes widened and she hurriedly turned around to close the door. This, Miss. Where did this come from? Why did it seem like there was no end to these gold, silver, and jewelry that were still piling up endlessly? Arbor was startled awake by Xiao Yao's shout. She hurriedly stood up from the pile of jewelry and hurriedly tidied it up. With great difficulty, she stuffed these things back into that ugly floral cloth package and cleaned up the room. The master and servant looked at each other in dismay, their faces full of confusion. Miss, this is a Cosmos treasure pouch, right? Legend has it that only divine weapon masters can make this kind of treasure pouch. Where did Miss get it? Arbor opened her mouth. Chapter 635. What could she say? Say that she dreamed of a white snake carrying this ugly package, but when she opened her eyes, it was right next to her? Wasn't this a fantasy? Who would believe this story? Even she herself didn't believe it. Xiao Yao. This can't be something from the great king's private storehouse, right? Arbor asked in a hushed voice. Xiao Yao's mouth twitched. Master, Xiao Yao also hasn't been to the great king's private storehouse. But looking at these jewels and accessories, each one is precious and valuable. The value shouldn't be low. Then what do we do now? Arbor turned to look at her. Of course we put it away. Xiao Yao looked around furtively, then hurriedly stuffed the package into her arms. It's fine, little master. Put it in your inner world. No one will know. Even if the great king's private storehouse is stolen, no one will be able to search your inner world. Also, how do we know why this package is here? Maybe it's another scheme of that evil woman, Consort Zheng. If we take it out and get caught red-handed, then wouldn't we be unable to explain ourselves? After Xiao Yao finished speaking, she pulled her little master and ran behind the heavy curtains. Hurry and put it away, little master. Consort Zhang was the scapegoat again. Arbor thought about it and decided not to put it away. It was too eye-catching to leave such a big package outside. But if she put it away, her little body trembled from the depths of her heart when she thought of that white snake with a round and bald head. Thinking of that cold and soft touch from last night, her entire body felt uncomfortable. With a move of his profound sense, the Cosmos treasure pouch fell into his inner world. The pouch opened and flipped over. Like golden pearls and jade pearls falling into a jade basin, a large pile of items fell behind the original mountain of treasures, forming another high slope. Arbor used his mystic sense and moved a red coral as tall as a person into the room. Master and servant sighed in amazement as they circled the coral tree. After admiring it for a long time, they finally looked at each other. Young master, forgive me for speaking bluntly, but I feel that even the great king's private vault would not be able to find a more perfect red coral than this. Look at this crystal clear. Xiao Yao clicked her tongue in wonder. This is the best red coral. Arbor looked at it a few more times with emotion, and then put it away. Xiao Yao, after the small banquet that day, the queen gave me a lot of jewelry as compensation. There is a box of beaded flowers, and the style is very suitable for you young people. Why don't you share it with the palace maids? After saying that, she pulled Xiao Yao to the dressing table, took out a brocade box, and handed it to Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao was speechless. The crown princess was clearly younger than them, but sometimes she spoke like an elder, making people feel very uncomfortable. Also, the crown princess is the only one who dares to say something like compensation. Many thanks to young miss for the reward. Xiao Yao did not expose her and only smiled as she accepted the gift. After helping Arbor wash up and eat, Xiao Yao pulled the palace maids to the courtyard to choose and distribute the beaded flowers. For the entire afternoon, the Eastern Palace was filled with cheerful laughter, as if it was the new year ahead of time. Arbor read the medical book for the entire afternoon. When she turned around, she told the Crown Prince to quickly return the book. At night, the snow finally stopped. The two of them chatted until late at night. They agreed to wait for the Crown Prince to finish dealing with state affairs tomorrow before returning home together. Arbor threw the ugly empty cloth bag to the side and went to sleep. At night, when she was half asleep, she heard some rustling sounds. She suddenly opened a pair of cold eyes. Chapter 636. She saw a candlestick in the corner of the sleeping chamber slightly swaying with a faint yellow halo. But Arbor's gaze fell on the ground. That Cosmos treasure pouch was gone. Xiao Mu vigilantly looked back and forth, but she didn't see any trace of that white snake. Only then did she close her eyes and listen for a while more. Only when she saw that there were no more strange sounds in the bedchamber did she drift off to sleep. Xiao Mu only lazily crawled out of bed when it was close to noon the next day. When her feet stepped off the bed, she kicked a round and bulging package. She was so shocked that she hurriedly retracted her legs. She lowered her head and saw that the extremely ugly floral package had returned. It can't be, right? Arbor stretched out her foot and kicked that package. That white snake couldn't have brought her something again in the middle of the night, right? She quickly got up, squatted down, opened the bag, and threw it. Waves of exotic fragrance wafted over. Looking carefully, one after another, exotic flowers and herbs rolled out of the package, their fragrance assailing her nostrils. Although the quantity was not as exaggerated as yesterday's pile of jewelry, the quality was eye-opening. These were all precious herbs. Arbor's interest was piqued. She squatted on the ground and flipped through this and that, clicking her tongue in wonder. When Xiao Yao came in, she saw her little master squatting in front of a pile of flowers and herbs. Her fingers were quickly flipping through them, and the corners of her mouth were actually holding a long-lost smile. "Miss, it's time to eat," Xiao Yao called out twice. Seeing that she did not respond, she could not help but curiously run over to take a look. "Miss, why is this Cosmos treasure pouch stuffed with so many herbs again? If I say that it's a gift from a white snake, you definitely won't believe me." The little fellow pursed her lips. This time, without any consideration, she directly let Little Tree keep all these herbs. There were also many medicinal seeds mixed in, and she instructed Little Tree to plant them all. Previously, she was still worried that there were not many medicinal ingredients in Paradise Planet that she could take out. Now, it was all good. She had a lot of medicinal ingredients. Just now, she saw that there were 2 or 3 herbs that could be refined into level 11 mystic breakthrough pills. She planned to refine a few to comfort herself. The only thing he lacked was a suitable medicinal cauldron. That day at the Elixir Appreciation Conference in front of the Wuruan Elixir store, he had been too busy to attend. It should have already ended by now. He had really missed the opportunity to find a good medicinal cauldron. She sighed as she arranged the flowers and plants. After having a simple meal, she wandered back and forth in the bedroom, asking Xiao Yao from time to time, "When will Molienne come back?" Xiao Yao covered her mouth and chuckled. "The Crown Prince should be back soon. His Highness agreed to return to the Marquis's estate with you, so naturally he won't go back on his word." Arbor nodded and asked someone to bring a pen and paper over. He spread out a piece of white paper and started writing on it. A quarter of an hour later, when Emolienne walked into the bedchamber, he saw his little one holding a brush and standing in front of the table in deep thought, her eyes fixed on the paper on the table. He walked over to take a look and saw 3 lines of delicate handwriting written from right to left. "Jiang Shubi's shadow like a startled swan hen Chongkong how can compare to falling moon." Emolienne stooped down and moved his head closer to look at those 3 lines of characters. Suddenly, he picked up the brush and circled 3, 3, 3, a total of 9 characters on the paper. "Hen Jiang can long sparse forest shadow moon temple. Isn't that near Bailon fortifications?" Arbor jumped up, almost knocking into his chin. he abruptly turned around and hugged him, exclaiming, "Emolien, you're so awesome." "What?" Emolien was baffled. Chapter 637. Prince Emo lowered his head and glanced at the little fellow. What was so amazing about this? In order to choose a suitable city to build fortifications of various sizes, Prince Emo knew all the remote corners of the entire country like the back of his hand. Arba put down the pen, folded the paper neatly, and stuffed it into her pocket. Only then did she raise her head to look at him. "Do you know what Startled Swan is?" This Startled Swan is the key to opening a secret inheritance realm. And this Startled Swan should be at the place you mentioned just now. The 3 sentences she had written on the paper just now were the message the mysterious woman had left for her in the Jade Sound Transmission Talisman she had used talisman energy to open earlier. The message said, she was able to obtain this Jade Talisman because she was fated with it. As for whether she was fated with Startled Swan or even the secret inheritance realm, that was unknown. Startled Swan. Emolien murmured. Could it be that Startled Swan dagger? You know. Arba's eyes lit up, becoming more and more curious. About 10 years ago, a group of relatively powerful great spirit masters from Shuntian Prefecture came down and pursued a woman with all their might. Emolien searched through some damaged ancient records in her mind. It said that the woman's cultivation was especially strong. I reckon that she might have already broken through to the great spirit master realm. However, in our place, her cultivation would be unlimitedly suppressed to the profound realm. Then those people from Shuntian Prefecture wouldn't be suppressed. Little Jojo pursed her lips, and for some reason, her heart was filled with a thick sense of anger. Now that she heard the words Shuntian Prefecture, she had the urge to tear them apart with her own hands. They would. Emolien's voice paused slightly. However, according to the remnant records, a portion of the people from Shuntian Prefecture should have used some kind of secret technique, causing their realms to only be suppressed to the beginning stages of the spirit realm, which is about the same as a 4th-level spirit master. Shuntian Prefecture and that female senior had a huge battle in the Western Territories. According to many records, the reason why the Western Wilderness is so desolate, where not even a blade of grass can grow, is because that battle back then was extremely tragic. Tens of thousands of people besieged that female senior. Arba's blood boiled when he heard this. Tens of thousands of people. That mysterious woman had single-handedly turned the situation around. How arrogant and conceited was that? Praise also appeared in Emolien's eyes. That senior is very formidable. She withstood the attacks of 10,000 people with her suppressed level 15 great mystic cultivation. It was said that the startling swan dagger had once soared into the sky and burrowed into the earth, setting a record of 3,000 kills. No spiritual tool or divine tool could compare to this record. Arba felt as if she was listening to a fairy tale. Her face turned slightly red, and she couldn't help but open her mouth slightly. Emolien saw how cute she was and couldn't help but pinch her cheeks lightly. She smiled and said, "In addition, Senior also has a super strong beast. It had a robust body and the strength to move mountains and rivers. It was shaped like a giant rat and had 13 giant tails, each of which had the ability to split a mountain peak. People call it the White Emperor Holy Beast." One woman and one beast fought alone, and in the end, they actually killed more than 9,000 people from Shuntian Prefecture. Arba let out a long exclamation. Senior escaped in the end, and after that, her whereabouts were unknown. Emolien reached out to pick up the little fellow. "All right, now that you've finished listening to the story, tell me about those 3 lines you wrote just now. It should have been left behind by that senior." Arba told Emolien everything about the Jade Listening Talisman. Emolien's eyes couldn't help but light up. But why would the startling swan dagger be kept in Shadow Moon Temple? Today's end. Chapter 638. Arba shook her head. "I don't know. I'm afraid that we will only know when we go. It just so happens that Balon's soil has grown a batch of edible things. I was just considering going to take a look." The Crown Prince smiled. When the snow melts, let's go together. Arbor thought of the flourishing fruits and vegetables growing on Paradise Planet, but after some consideration, she didn't say anything. Although Paradise Planet was large, the food there wasn't enough to provide for all of Northern Mo. It was right for the Crown Prince to place so much importance on the food that Balon had grown. After all, they had to tackle the root of the problem to solve the people's livelihood. However, if they transplanted the plants on Paradise Planet, she didn't know if there would be any special growth effects. She could give this a try. While Arbor was pondering, she felt a cool breeze hit her in the face. The Crown Prince had already wrapped a cloak around her and carried her out the door. The carriage stopped at the door, and the two felt warm and cozy as soon as they boarded it. A small stove had already been set up in the carriage, and 2 cups of hot tea were emitting white steam. Emolien reached out to remove the cloak for her, revealing her tender face. He smiled and rubbed his head against her forehead. "Jojo, you can't come back with me when we go back today. You have to let me hug you for a while longer." They were just about to separate, but she was already thinking about it. What should she do? It seemed that she could only urge the Ministry of Rites to quickly put the wedding ceremony on the schedule and hurry up with the purchasing process. Arbor rolled her eyes at him. She didn't believe that this person would obediently stay in the Eastern Palace and not come to find her. "This is for you." When Emolien stretched out his hand, he saw a short and small ruler that was flowing with an inky light lying quietly in his palm. Arbor's brows twitched, and she looked up at him. It could change the size of a weapon at will. This should be a spirit artifact. This spirit artifact doesn't need to be sealed anymore. It will automatically adjust to the range of power suitable for you according to your actual cultivation. It will be easier to use. Emolien hugged her and lowered his head to look at her with a smile. "Do you like it?" Arbor nodded heavily. He happily took the ruler and stroked it gently with his small hand. He could instantly feel the ruler's excitement. Her little Momo was back. It was no longer lifeless and broken. It had repaired Emolien. Arbor was so happy that he almost wanted to spin in circles, but his little hands and feet were trapped in someone's arms, and he couldn't move. "Give it a try?" Arbor nodded and channeled a trace of Xian energy into it. Immediately, an ink light flowed and it was full of vigor. The ruler turned into a normal ruler and was held in Arbor's hand. Emolien thank. Before Arbor could finish his sentence, Emolien pressed a finger to his lips. "What an idiot. You're not allowed to thank me. You're a spirit tool master." Arbor's eyes lit up as he looked at the man in front of him. Emolien tilted his head in slight distress. "Perhaps. I'm just following the inheritance in my head. I'm actually not very clear about what level of weapon master I am. But currently, I can only forge a level 15 spirit artifact at most. But this ruler of yours, I used a kind of top-grade material that can grow. In the future, when your cultivation increases, you can forge it again." Arbor's eyes lit up. He tugged at his sleeve and asked, "Then what about Debeo?" Emolien waved his hand and a small person jumped up in the air, happily pouncing towards Arbor. "Little Master! Debeo missed you so much. Little Master, you're getting more and more beautiful." Chapter 639. Ha ha ha. Arbor laughed from the bottom of her heart. This joker was as talkative as always. Although she disliked it in the beginning, she really couldn't get used to it without that chatter. Humans were truly frightening. As she got used to it, she naturally got used to it. "You're happy now. I still haven't taken out the good thing that you wanted custom-made for you." Emolien smiled as she took out a palm-sized wooden club. It was covered in a layer of densely packed and frightening barbs, and it was also coated with a layer of golden fluid that emitted a dazzling golden luster. Arbor thought that it was simply amazing. This golden club really looked small, exquisite, and beautiful. Taking the club that the Crown Prince handed over, Arbor turned it over and over, unable to take her eyes off it. She almost couldn't bear to part with it. "Momo, this is your good partner, Jean," the little fellow muttered to herself, which amused the Crown Prince. Arbor swung her small hand slightly, and the club in her palm suddenly grew longer and fatter. In the blink of an eye, it became the size of a household club. In reality, this club could be a bit longer, but the space here was rather cramped, so Auber dropped the idea. She excitedly lifted a corner of the curtain and secretly channeled mystic energy. The club emitted a faint golden glow that drilled out of the window. After a loud boom, a pile of snow nearby instantly exploded into pieces, and snowflakes silently flew everywhere. Auber only used a wisp of mystic energy, and the club already had such power. This made her even more delighted. Emolienne couldn't help but gasp in amazement, and she reached out to pinch the little fellow's cheek. "Jojo is truly amazing. You made a spirit tool acknowledge you as its master so easily." If it was a normal person, just the process of taming a spirit tool would probably take more than 3 days and 2 nights. Spirit tools couldn't be compared to mystic tools. They all had spirituality, and they could only be tamed and used by people above the level of spiritual cultivator. A level 11 mystic cultivator effortlessly tamed a level 15 spirit tool that could grow. No one would dare to believe this if they heard about it. There's still a portion of this top-grade material left. I reckon it should be enough to upgrade your defensive artifact. Give me the defensive equipment first and stay at home obediently for the next 2 days. I'll send it to you once I'm done forging it. See, wasn't this an opportunity to openly send himself to his Jojo's doorstep? Auber silently took off the ring on his finger and gave it to him. Well, can you change the design? Changing it to this eggshell? Something like a defensive barrier will do. Emolienne shook her head vigorously. I can only change it to the shape of a flower. The corners of Auber's mouth twitched. He didn't know if he was fooling him. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Then forget it. I'll stick with the eggshell." If he really changed it into a flower and wrapped himself in it, then wouldn't he make people laugh to death when he went up to fight? Okay. Emolienne agreed with a smile. Just as he put away Jojo's ring, the carriage suddenly jolted and stopped. There was a small commotion outside. "It's not impossible? You..." Swoosh! The carriage curtain lifted, and a tall figure abruptly jumped into the carriage. "Jojo! Duan Yu!" Auber's mouth gaped as he looked at the youth pouncing toward him. However, the crown prince nimbly kicked over and hooked his Jojo into his arms while he was at it. Duan Yu didn't pounce on his Jojo and was almost kicked off the carriage by Emolienne. His peerlessly handsome face instantly darkened. Chapter 640. Jojo. Duan Yu bitterly gazed at Auber, who was in Emolienne's embrace. His peach blossom eyes rolled up and down as he battled with Emolienne. "Hurry and let go of Jojo, you shameless guy. Jerk." He was so miserable. Ever since they parted ways at the Qin estate, he hadn't seen his Jojo again. The most bizarre thing was that a few days ago, he actually heard rumors in the capital that the great king had betrothed the crown prince to the Qiao family's eldest miss. What betrothal? He wouldn't acknowledge it. Did this great king's brain go haywire? For some reason, he blindly betrothed his Jojo to that wretched crown prince. If it weren't for the Duan clan's trivial matters pestering him these past few days, he would have long snuck into the palace and met with his Jojo. Woo-woo. Emolienne vigilantly glanced at him. "What did you come here for? Hurry and get out of the carriage. Jojo, the great king is fooling around and betrothing you to Prince Emo. If you don't like it, you can resist." Duan Yu incited from the side, causing Emolienne's gaze to darken. "It's not that I don't like it," Auber honestly replied. Prince Mo's originally dark clouds instantly turned sunny. He looked down at his darling with a grin and then disdainfully glanced at Duan Yu. "Did you hear that? Humph. Hurry and get out of the carriage. Don't keep saying strange things and inciting my wife. Hurry and scram." Duan Yu looked like he was struck by lightning. He sized up Auber from head to toe and suddenly wanted to pounce on her again. "Jojo, listen to me, you're still young. Don't fall for it. We're not in a hurry to get married. Hurry and come over, I'll take you away." Prince Mo directly struck out with his palm. Run, my ass. Go and squat down where it's cool. With a flick of his sleeve, Duan Yu dodged Emolien's palm strike. The car window trembled, and the carved wooden window frame nearly cracked. What are you doing? Duan Yu glared angrily at Emolien. You want to fight, right? Emolien gave him a look that said, I'm afraid of you. Arbor suddenly reached out and patted Duan Yu's dog head as he exasperatedly said, You two should stop. How old are you already? You're even more noisy than Xiao Senior, Duan Yu. Emolien. Ha ha ha. Look at her Jojo's small hands. It was as if she was stroking a puppy and smoothing its fur. Duan Yu blinked and suddenly pulled Arbor's petite hand over. Emolien's handsome face darkened, but it was too late for her to snatch it back. Jojo, tell me, what did Emolien say to you? Why did you run into the palace when you were clearly at the Qin estate? That night, he even snuck into the Qin estate to find her, but it was all for naught. Arbor was an honest child, so he replied, I don't know either. I was in the Eastern Palace when I opened my eyes. Emolien carried me back. That scoundrel actually made the first move and gained the upper hand. Duan Yu gritted his teeth as he angrily glared at the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince raised his brows at him with an expression that said, Sorry, Jojo is my wife, so scram to the side. Jojo, do you know how the Qin estate is doing right now? Didn't pay attention. Arbor spoke the truth. She wasn't familiar with the Qin estate either. At most, she was closer to Xiang Yuan. Logically speaking, the Qin estate should be sealed off after a level 4 zombie appeared. Xiang Yuan had never come into contact with a level 4 zombie before, so she would naturally be released once the time was up and it was safe. She was merely a maidservant and wouldn't be an eyesore, so she would definitely be fine. As for Eldest Qin and Omega Kotoku, she couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. She wouldn't finish until 10:30 p.m., right? Chapter 641. I'm telling you, the Qin estate is miserable. They've been completely surrounded by Emolien's troops. Not even a fly can fly out. Duan Yu slandered Crown Prince Mo to his face, speaking ill of him with all his might. Emolien merely harumphed and raised a brow, ignoring him. However, Arbor said, logically speaking, that should be the case. A level 4 zombie appeared in their estate. Although it didn't injure anyone on the spot, who knows if it had come into contact with anyone else in the inner court before. It should be observed for 5 to 6 days and unsealed only after there are no issues, the little fellow said indifferently. Her heart had always been as hard as steel when it came to zombies, so she should treat them more heartlessly than anyone else. Duan Yu pursed his lips. It's already past the deadline, but Emolien doesn't have the slightest intention of letting them out. Ask him if you don't believe me. Arbor turned to look at Emolien, and the latter looked back innocently. I was just too busy and forgot about the Qin estate's matter. Don't worry, I just need to instruct them. As if he didn't want those 2 annoying young masters of the Qin estate to come out. Who knew if they would come looking for his darling? He forgot. Arbor then looked at Duan Yu with complete trust. The Crown Prince was busy with state affairs, so how could he have so much free time to pay attention to the Qin estate's trivial matters? If he forgot, then so be it. In any case, she didn't like the Qin estate very much. Duan Yu secretly twitched his mouth as he cursed Emolien's craftiness in his mind. What kind of tricks did this guy use to coax the little fellow? She even trusted him so much. It was simply infuriating to death. Jojo, you definitely don't know what the Great King's betrothal means. Since this path didn't work, Duan Yu quickly changed to another path and earnestly admonished Arbor, Jojo, you're young and naive, stupid. Some people are crafty and astute, and you're completely not their match. Every step he takes has his own profound meaning. First, it would silently appear by your side all the time. Then, it would slowly infiltrate your life and infiltrate your family. This was clearly despicable. Then, He would pull all your family members to his side and slowly lure you to his side step by step. This was Prince Mo's strategy of slowly infiltrating the empire. He was so stupid. With such a good plan, he should have made the first move to gain the upper hand. Why did the crown prince succeed? For example, this betrothal. Didn't you say that you don't even have any friends? Why did you suddenly agree to this betrothal? Duan Yu glanced at Arbor aggrievedly. Every time he said, "Let's be friends," she would yell, "I don't have any friends." Then, Prince Mo would take advantage of this opportunity to sneak her into the enemy's camp. Ba, into Jojo's heart. Darling Chow nodded sincerely. Before Mo Lien could cover her mouth, she heard her reply crisply, "That's right. Mo Lien also told me that since I said that we don't have any friends, then we won't be friends anymore. We might as well be husband and wife." Duan Yu looked at her in bewilderment. Was this okay? Mo Lien couldn't resist face-palming. Oh my, why was his darling speaking so honestly? Darling, the private words between us husband and wife can only be spoken between us in the future. You mustn't tell anyone else. Mo Lien quickly pulled the little fellow closer to her and glared at Duan Yu. Let go. Chapter 642. Not only did Duan Yu not let go, he even grabbed Arbor's hand and abruptly lowered his head. He held her hand with both hands and sobbed bitterly. Jojo, how could you be so deceptive? You should have said earlier that you weren't going to be friends and be husband and wife instead. Let go. Mo Lien forcefully slapped Duan Yu's arm twice. Arbor hastily said, "Don't hit him, he's already crying. He looks quite miserable and pitiful." Mo Lien, as she spoke, Arbor reached out to stroke Duan Yu's head again. All right, don't cry anymore. I know, it was my fault for pretending not to know you that day. But how would I know that you guys are so crazy that you recognized me with a single glance? I originally wanted to hide in the Qin estate for a few days. When Arbor thought of this, she couldn't help but ask, Duan Yu, Mo Lien said that you blindly recognized me after my disguise. How did you guess? Mo Lien. His wife was too simple-minded and could say anything. What should he do? So anxious. Duan Yu was even more dumbfounded. Why did he feel like he was talking to his Jojo in a different world? Was he crying bitterly because of the Qin estate's matter? That wasn't the case at all right. He was crying because Jojo was deceptive and didn't tell him earlier that he had a wife if he didn't have friends, all right? However, he still quickly retorted, "Of course not, don't listen to Mo Lien's nonsense. How could I have guessed right? I recognized you with a single glance purely based on intuition. My Jojo is so fair, adorable, and intelligent. No matter what you turn into, I can recognize you with a single glance. It's really Jojo. Get out of my way. Go. Mo Lien grumpily grabbed Arbor's hand and pulled her into his embrace. He patted her back while he was at it. Don't believe him, Jojo. He's pretending to be obedient in front of you right now. He definitely guessed it. Absolutely. You're the one who's pretending to be obedient. Your whole family is pretending to be obedient. If you didn't use such a shameless method to trick Jojo into leaving, who knows who would be smiling proudly right now? Mo Lien snorted as she glared at Duan Yu from the corner of her eyes. Who was he blaming for his own stupidity? The two of them communicated silently. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. After a fierce battle, Arbor's face was filled with confusion. The friendship between men was really strange and complicated. In one moment, they were as close as real brothers. That day in the Qin estate, the two of them had joined forces to force her out of the Qin estate, and at the same time, they had confronted the young masters of the Qin estate. Now, the two of them were biting each other like dogs. He knew that this fellow was up to no good. Sure enough, he had made a prompt decision to take his wife home and raise her. That was completely correct. Mo Lien thought to himself and couldn't help but feel a little proud. He really had to be fast and accurate. Otherwise, if his wife was kidnapped, who would he cry to? You're done talking. You can scram now. Mo Lien impatiently said, We still have matters to attend to, so we won't see you out. Duan Yu quickly said, Jojo, aren't you going home? I'll go back with you. I haven't seen uncle and auntie in a long time, and I really miss them. Mo Lien immediately glared daggers at him, stabbing him to death. His lips curled up as he remarked dryly, Father and mother's health is quite good, so there's no need for you to worry. It's late today, so you should hurry and leave. Duan Yu rolled his eyes and pretended not to see. He pitifully looked at Arbor. Jojo, I've been hungry for 2 days. Didn't you return to the Duan estate? Arbor asked curiously. She didn't expect that the concealed weapons patrician family, the Duan estate in the capital, would also have such a bizarre background. Chapter 643. Duan Yu pursed his lips in disdain. I don't want to go back. That old man is forcing me to go back. As soon as he stepped into that house, there would be endless disputes. It was so annoying that he was annoyed to death. Some trivial matters, big or small, always got in his way, making it impossible for him to have a pleasant conversation with Jojo. Jojo, where did you run off to these 2 years? Do you know that I was about to court death? I'm sorry, I made you worry. Duan Yu's eyes brightened, and he started rambling non-stop, completely ignoring the daggers that Prince Mo shot at him from time to time. Afterwards, Duan Yu was annoyed by Mo Lien's daggers, so he directly shot him a look. Don't think that you'll succeed just because you made the first move. I'm telling you, you two haven't gotten married yet, so who knows if there will be any variables. Moreover, after getting married, many people can still divorce. Prince Mo instantly exploded. He grabbed Duan Yu's collar and broke out of the window, directly beating him up. Arbor was baffled as he watched the two exchange murderous glances. Afterwards, they both jumped out of the carriage and actually started fighting halfway. With their cultivation, it was a lively fight. White snow fluttered and withered leaves covered the ground. The two's mystic energy swept across, causing all the people and animals within a radius of 5 kilometers to flee. The carriage driver stopped the carriage in a daze and turned to look at Arbor. He stammered, Your crown princess, His Highness is? Arbor rolled his eyes. Ignore them, the two brothers are acting crazy. Drive me to Wangji's sesame cake shop first. I'll bring a sesame cake back for my sister. Yes, crown princess. The carriage driver quickly drove the carriage to Wangji's sesame cake shop. Behind them, Xiao Yao's carriage also stopped. When she saw the crown princess's carriage moving again, she also followed. This Wangji's sesame cake shop sold at most 3 sesame cakes every day. Customers usually exchanged silk cloth or other food with the shop owner. Just like that, no one bought it. It wasn't that they didn't want to eat it, but that they didn't have anything valuable to exchange with others. This Wang Ji must have stockpiled a lot of wheat, so it wasn't much of a problem to make 3 sesame seed cakes a day. Who told them to only have sesame seed cakes at home? Of course, they had to use the sesame seed cakes to exchange for other things. Otherwise, they would be sick of eating sesame seed cakes every day. However, it had been more than half a month since anyone had come to buy sesame seed cakes or barter with him. Shopkeeper Wang was almost worried to death. His little grandson kept saying that he wanted to eat, eat, eat. It would be even better if there were some fresh vegetables. Sigh, he was always eating sesame seed cakes, dough balls, and the like. Without fresh vegetables and fruits in his stomach, his little grandson's bowel movements were somewhat obstructed. However, in this day and age, having something to eat was better than nothing, so there was nothing to be picky about. At this moment, he saw a little girl with a very beautiful face and wearing an expensive ferret fur cloak walk up to him. He hurriedly put on a smile and asked, Little girl, do you want to buy sesame seed cakes? Yes. I want to buy 20 sesame seed cakes, freshly made. Do you have any hot ones? Yes, yes, yes. The old man hurriedly nodded like he was pounding garlic. Then, he looked at Arbor somewhat shyly and rubbed his hands. Just Miss, I want to exchange them for some fresh vegetables and fruits and also rice." It seemed that his request was a bit high, so the old man was somewhat embarrassed. Arbor flipped her small hand and threw half a bucket of white rice to him. Then, she asked Little Tree to bring her 2 big cabbages, some bean sprouts, a bunch of grapes, and 4 honey peaches from Paradise Planet. She threw them all to the old man. "Is this okay?" She was just sitting at home, and a nouveau riche came knocking on her door. The old man hugged a large pile of vegetables, fruits, and rice and almost cried out. He nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Today ended. Chapter 644. "Miss, you have so many things that you can exchange for 30 sesame seed cakes. I'll make 30 for you." The old man was also an honest person, so he quickly beamed with joy when he saw this. Arbor shook his head. 20 will do. You can keep the rest and slowly eat them." The old man quickly thanked him profusely and used all his effort to make 20 hot sesame seed cakes. He carefully wrapped them in oil paper and handed them to the little girl. "Many thanks." Arbor accepted them and directly stored them in his inner world. He nodded and turned to walk towards the carriage. As soon as she lifted the curtain, the corner of her mouth involuntarily twitched. She saw 2 men sitting across from each other, each holding a teacup. Their fingers were long and slender, and their eyes were slightly lowered. A picture of quiet and handsome men flowed before her eyes. The 2 of them were sipping tea, and the tea mist lingered before their eyes. It was quite beautiful, like jade, as if they had completely lost the appearance of having just fought a fierce battle. The little fellow sighed and climbed into the carriage, resigned to her fate, and sat in the innermost seat. "Not fighting any more?" "We were just comparing notes," Emolien replied dryly. "MHM, when you disappeared for more than 2 years, we also frequently compared notes." Arbor: "All right, the world of boys was truly quite difficult to understand." Jojo: "Tonight is the last day of Wuruan Pill House's auction, and they will continue to auction that rare 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron. How about we also go take a look?" Duan Yu suggested with a smile. "No need to trouble yourself. I'll just buy the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron for Jojo." Emo Lien harumphed. Duan Yu glanced at him and gloated, "You're uncultured." "Huh? Do you think you can buy something like that so easily?" The seller said that if you want the cauldron, you can only exchange it with a level 11 mystic breakthrough pill and a blood stasis dispersing pill. Moreover, the person wants a high-grade pill, so it must naturally have purple veins, understand? Arbor didn't notice Duan Yu's smug tone and asked in astonishment, "Logically speaking, Wuruan Pill House's auction should have ended 2 days ago, right?" "It's precisely because of the appearance of this 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron." Duan Yu clicked his tongue in wonder. The 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron attracted the attention of all the pill alchemists in the nearby towns. The alchemists really wanted to obtain this medicinal cauldron. It was just a pity that the other party had set specific conditions for the exchange. It is said that this matter has alarmed the Alchemy Alliance, and it has been delayed for 2 or 3 days to wait for the Alliance Master of the Alchemy Alliance to come and bid for the medicinal cauldron. Arbor blinked. Is the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron really that good? Even the Alchemy Guild is here? Of course. It is said that it is the treasured cauldron that all alchemists dream of. You only need a level 11 mystic breaking pill and a blood stasis dispersing pill with purple veins in exchange for that cauldron? Arbor's eyes sparkled as he asked. Yes, that's what the seller of the medicinal cauldron said. This matter has already spread through the streets and alleys, Duan Yu said with a grin. How is it? Shall we go and take a look tonight? Arbor nodded. I'll go and exchange with him. Duan Yu exclaimed with a chuckle, Jojo's current pill refining standards are so superb. It's all right. Arbor nodded. It shouldn't be a problem to concoct pills with purple veins. However, she was a bit impatient because she didn't have a suitable medicinal cauldron, and it took a long time to concoct. Can we make it in time? Tonight is the last day, Duan Yu casually asked as he leisurely took a sip from his teacup. We can make it in time, right? We should be able to finish it in a little over 2 hours. It's just that it takes too long, so it's a bit annoying. The little fellow looked bored, and as a result, Duan Yu nearly choked to death on his tea. Chapter 645. You only need more than 2 hours to concoct a level 11 mystic breakthrough pill? Why did he keep hearing people excitedly talk about how some master spent 3 days and 2 nights painstakingly concocting a level 10 or level 11 mystic breakthrough pill, only to have it snatched up at a high price in a matter of minutes when it was put up for auction? Aba rolled her eyes at him. It takes more than 2 hours to concoct a level 11 mystic breakthrough pill. Do you want to tire me to death? What I'm saying is that it might take more than 2 hours to concoct a mystic breakthrough pill and a blood stasis dispersing pill together. Emolienne twitched her mouth and looked askance at Duan Yu's gaping mouth in shock. She couldn't help but laugh inwardly. You haven't seen the world yet. Do you think other people can compare to my wife's pill concoction talent? Emolienne harumphed and rebuked Duan Yu. Duan Yu speechlessly rubbed his nose and looked out the window. The carriage had already stopped. Qiao Zhongbang and his wife, who had heard the news, quickly came out to greet them. Just as they were about to salute, Emolienne waved her hand and went up to support them, pulling them into the house. Sister! Qiao Lin bounced out. Judging from her rosy cheeks, it was evident that the night raid 2 days ago didn't cause her much trouble. Aba pursed her lips and reached out to hold her sister's small hand. As the group walked inside, Wei Ziqin cheerfully said, Xiaoyu, you haven't come in a long time. Yes, Auntie. I'll come every 2 or 3 days in the future. Don't find me annoying. How could I, child? Wei Ziqin shook her head with a smile. You're Jojo's good friend. Auntie doesn't mind you coming to eat every day. Aba glanced askance at Duan Yu and harumphed. This time, she didn't rebuke a certain person in front of her mother by saying, no friends. Sister. A vigorous youth's voice cut in. Aba looked up and saw a burly young man with thick brows and big eyes running down the corridor. He ran straight to her and looked at her with a hearty laugh. Brother who? Aba's eyebrows curved slightly as he ran forward to greet his brother. Little sister, Big Brother really regrets what happened last time. Of all times to go into seclusion, I just had to go into seclusion when you came back. Qiao Hu scratched his head and said, What's there to regret? Didn't I come back? Yes. Qiao Hu smiled honestly. You won't be leaving this time, right? Aba nodded. She's living at home. Great. Jolin cheered and pulled Aba's hand. Sister, did you buy me a sesame seed cake? Wei Ziqin turned her head and glared at him. You're only thinking about that little bit of food. It's as if you're missing out on something. Uncle Wong's sesame seed cakes are crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. They're delicious. Qiao Lin pouted and looked at her sister eagerly. Aba reached out and flicked her forehead. Then, with a swipe of his hand, he took out a stack of sesame seed cakes from his inner world. Take this and stuff your mouth. Jolin cheered and took it, grinning from ear to ear. A few sesame seed cakes were enough to make her happy. Aba helplessly shook her head and followed the group of people chatting and laughing into the hall. After chatting for a while, Aba was still thinking about the pills, so she planned to return to her room first. When Wei Ziqin heard this, she quickly wanted to take her daughter with her, leaving Qiao Zhongbang and second Uncle Qiao to take care of Emolienne and Duan Yu. Jolin quickly followed them and chatted the entire way about the attack that night. As they chatted, the topic shifted to Miss Wu. Aba frowned. Lin, you said that Miss Wu originally wanted you guys to send her off. Chapter 646. That's right, it's that Wu Xiaosu, the eldest daughter of the Wu family. Mother's heart was about to soften, but I saw that she was faking it, so I didn't let her come up. Otherwise, if something happened to her in our carriage, the Wu family might come after us to settle accounts. Xiao Lin, proudly raised her little head. Wei Ziqin couldn't help but laugh. She turned around and poked her daughter's head. You're the only one who likes to pretend to be obedient in front of your eldest sister. You're making mother sound worthless. Xiao Lin stuck out her tongue with a playful and adorable expression. Arba looked at her little sister's lively and cheerful appearance, and her heart was filled with emotion. A faint smile appeared on her lips as she nodded. Xiao Lin is quite quick-witted. All right, you don't have to praise her anymore. If you keep praising your little sister, her tail will fly to the sky. Wei Ziqin shook her head with a smile. She held her daughter's hand, feeling full of happiness. The three of them entered Nanzhu Garden. The emerald green bamboo that greeted them caused Arba's expression to become slightly dazed. At this time, the snow hadn't completely melted, and the emerald green and white blended together to form a scene. It reminded her of a benevolent old lady who always liked to wave her large cattail leaf fan and set up a small table in the bamboo forest to listen to the wind and the bamboo while admiring the snow. She couldn't go back. Jojo, what's wrong? Wei Ziqin looked at her child in confusion. Arba blinked and gently shook her head. It's nothing, mother. I like it here a lot. It's good that you like it. It's good that you like it. Wei Ziqin nodded happily. Go in and take a look. Mother has already prepared for you to come home to live. The mattress and everything else is new. See if you need anything, then tell mother. Mother, you always give elder sister the best. Compared to this, I don't even look like your biological daughter. Xiao Lin pouted and teased. Wei Ziqin's hand paused, then she raised it to pat her younger daughter's back. What nonsense are you talking about? Your mother doesn't worry enough about you. Hee hee. Jolin covered her mouth and laughed. She flashed behind her sister and pulled Arba's sleeve. Sister, when you weren't home, mother would hit me for no reason and always said that I was a naughty monkey. Now that you're back, you have to uphold justice for me. We sisters must be of one mind. Wei Ziqin couldn't help but sneer. Let me tell you, your sister is the most principled. Don't expect her to stand on your side if you do something wrong. Xiao Lin pursed her lips as the three of them walked into the exquisitely decorated room. Using a double-sided peony-embroidered screen to separate the room, the outside was arranged into a small cubicle for drinking tea and entertaining close friends, while the inside was a spacious bedroom. Xiao Mu was satisfied with everything she needed after sweeping her eyes over it, so she didn't need to add anything else. She was originally a person who did not have high requirements. As long as it was comfortable, it was fine. As for the furnishings and what not, it did not matter. Now that father had been promoted to a marquis, mother had started to be particular. Otherwise, if it was in the village in the past, a big Kong bed was enough as long as it was warm enough to lie down. Sister, you're really not a particular person. Xiao Lin saw her sister's gaze, which seemed to be indifferent to worldly things, and couldn't help but burst into laughter. Go away, you have no sense of seniority. How can you casually make fun of your sister? Wei Ziqin patted her younger daughter. Arba couldn't help but shake her head. Protecting her younger sister, she said, Mother is fine. We're in our own home, so we can be casual. That's right. Xiao Lin tilted her head and naturally shrank behind Arba. I'll add more chapters today. Go home first. Don't hide. Throw your tickets over, ow. Chapter 647. You can't nurture her bad habit, Wei Ziqin reprimanded with a frown. What kind of person is she if she's like this outside? We're in the capital right now, and everyone in our family has to fight for your honor when they go out. Mom, I'm very well behaved and well mannered outside. Xiao Lin made a standard greeting and called out gently, Greetings to the Crown Princess. Wei Ziqin and Arba both laughed. This mischievous girl. Arba poked her little head. Come, let sister take your pulse. Xiao Lin extended her wrist, and before long, Arba had her switch hands. After taking her pulse, he nodded and said, Your body is quite good. Her mystic energy surged powerfully, and her aura was dense and prolonged. Although she was only a mere level 4 mystic cultivator, the strength of her body's recuperation and the expansion of her mystic meridians were very good. Sister will make 2 level 4 and level 5 mystic breakthrough pills for you. First, I'll help you recuperate for 2 more days. After 2 days, take them and enter seclusion to see if you can break through to level 6 mystic cultivator in one go. Qiao Lin's small mouth was wide enough to stuff a duck egg in. Sister? Sister? Qiao Lin was simply in disbelief. She was currently a level 4 mystic cultivator, but from Sister's words, it seemed like advancing to level 6 mystic cultivator overnight was an extremely simple matter. It's fine. Work hard. Even if you can't advance to level 6 in one go, it doesn't matter. You should be able to steadily advance to level 5 mystic cultivator. Arbor comforted his sister before turning around to take his mother's pulse. Mom's foundation is weak. Let me help you recuperate first. Don't be in a hurry to advance, lest your mystic meridians become chaotic and cause chi deviation if you forcefully advance, Arbor said. Mom is already so old. It's already a pleasant surprise to be able to become a mystic cultivator. How can I demand anything else? Only then did Wei Ziqin return to her senses. Her eyes were actually brimming with tears as she grasped Arbor's hands. She muttered to herself with an agitated expression, "Jojo, tell Mom, did you become an alchemist?" What his daughter was talking about just now should be pill refinement. Arbor nodded. He was a little surprised that his mother would be so emotional. He helplessly patted her hand and said, "Didn't you already know that I have some medical skills?" "That's different. How could that be the same? You've become an alchemist." Madame Wei continued to mutter, "Daughter, an alchemist is very different from a normal doctor. Alchemists are quite impressive." Yes. Arbor could only nod along with his excited mother. "Mom, don't wake me up before dinner. I'll concoct a few pills for little Lin and the others." Okay. Go ahead. Mother and your younger sister won't hinder you." Wei Ziqin beamed from ear to ear as she nodded. She pulled her younger daughter towards the door as she muttered, No, this is such a good thing. You must tell your father and have him open the ancestral hall. I want to pay respects to the ancestors. This is the manifestation of our ancestors." Arbor, "Mom, aren't you exaggerating a little too much?" Because she didn't have a handy medicinal cauldron, Arbor still took out a very ordinary cooking stove to concoct her pills. If other alchemists were to see that this strange child had used this crappy little cauldron to concoct those high-grade pills with purple veins, they would probably vomit blood and faint from anger. Arbor washed her small hands clean and calmed her mind. She took out a few stalks of herbs for concocting a level 11 mystic breakthrough pill and began to carefully grind them. Chapter 648. It was still because she didn't have a medicinal cauldron, so the little fellow could only make a porcelain jar on the small stove to make her pills. If those people from the Pill Alliance saw this scene, they would definitely slap her to the wall, making her unable to be pulled down. You freaking made a small jar for stewing tonics, and your sister stewed it there, and you actually made a purple-veined pill. Why don't you go to heaven? That was why it was more convenient for her to use a small jar to stew medicinal powders, ointments, and the like. It was also fine to make medicinal liquids, but refining pills was a little out of place. Who asked her to be so poor that she didn't even have a decent medicinal cauldron? However, her alchemy and medical skills were all made up by herself. Before eldest Qin told her about medicinal cauldrons, she didn't even think that there was such a thing as a medicinal cauldron. Perhaps that master of hers, who was rather capable in the medical field, also did it like this. Otherwise, why didn't she have any information about medicinal cauldrons in her mind? How would she know that her capable master basically didn't need to worry about refining pills in the later stages? He just needed to throw the medicinal ingredients in, and he didn't even need to control the heat, and it would form pills on its own. Unlike her, who still had to bitterly watch the heat. So it took so long, and she could only refine 2 types of pills in a little over 2 hours. It really made her depressed. With this kind of refining speed, she didn't even have the face to tell others that she was an alchemist. That patient was about to die, and she still needed to refine pills for an hour. That person would have kicked the bucket long ago. Sigh. A certain darling supported her chin with one hand as she squatted beside the small stove. From time to time, she would use mystic energy to adjust the heat and gently brush the lid of the porcelain jar. She had to think of a good idea to speed up. She still had to refine pills for Dad and the rest. This way, she wouldn't be able to finish even if the sky turned dark. When Emolien stealthily sneaked in, he saw his wife's small bitter face as she fretted over a small pot of stew. He was simply a little stunned. His phoenix eyes suddenly widened. This is... You won't tell me. You used this small stove and small white porcelain jar to stew your purple-veined pills? What do you think? Darling Chow was already feeling a little hopeless from waiting. Therefore, after she learned how to concoct medicine, to be honest, she hadn't really concocted many pills. It was simply too slow, so slow that she wanted to sleep. You. Crown Prince Emo was simply at a loss for words as he looked at his eccentric wifey. How many times have you succeeded in refining pills? Emolien couldn't believe it. A certain baby rolled her eyes and gave him a look that said, nonsense. Student Mo felt that the bronze cauldron he used was already broken enough. It was simply a waste of his great talent in refining weapons. However, using such a broken cauldron, he could still make something like a level 15 spirit weapon. If this were to spread out, it would really shock the world. However, this time, he felt that those people who thought that he was enough to shock the world were definitely ignorant and inexperienced. They had not seen the weirdness of his little wife. This was the oddball girl of the entire alchemy world. Jojo, where are the pills you refined? Here. Auber's little mouth twitched as he showed him the few jade-white pills in the lid of the teacup. This time, Prince Emo couldn't help but slightly open his mouth. There were 4 small round pills in the lid of the teacup. Based on his experience, he had never seen anyone who could refine so many pills in one afternoon. You actually refined 4 pills in one afternoon? What kind of pills are these? It smelled so good. Chapter 649. Are you kidding me? If I can only refine 4 pills in an afternoon, then I don't want to live anymore. Auber rolled his eyes and threw him a small porcelain bottle. And this? Prince Emo. My wife is especially inhuman when she's refining pills. What should I do? There were no less than 10 small, round pills in the small porcelain bottle. I'm not refining any more after refining this, the little girl said impatiently. Refining 20-something pills in one afternoon, it's so slow. Prince Emo, if there were other alchemists present right now, they would definitely want to beat her to death. These are all level 11 mystic breakthrough pills? Prince Emo asked as he held the small bottle. No, 10 level 11 mystic breakthrough pills and 6 stasis dispelling pills. Auber glanced at the teacup lid and said, those 4 pills are for Shaolin and father. They were level 4, level 5, and level 7 and level 8 mystic breakthrough pills respectively. If there were no accidents, father could advance to level 9 mystic cultivator, and Shaolin should be able to advance to level 6. Emolien already didn't make any sound. He really wanted to ask her, using such a lousy tool, a small jar for stewing bird's nest, to refine pills, don't you feel sorry for the pills and so many excellent medicinal herbs? But the problem was, the pills actually obediently took shape. To other alchemists who earnestly bought medicinal cauldrons and refined pills day and night, this was such a heart-rending matter. Baby, do you know of pill houses? I do. Auber cast him a sidelong glance and felt that the Crown Prince's gaze was a bit off. It was clearly a bit like he was looking at someone from another planet. Then do you know of any pill houses that sell ordinary medicinal cauldrons? Auber shook his head honestly. How would she know? If it weren't for the Omega Kotoku bringing her to experience pill houses last time, she wouldn't have come into contact with them at all. Was she to blame for being ignorant in her previous life? She hadn't refined pills in her previous life, so of course she wouldn't understand this stuff. You spent the entire afternoon refining level 11 Mystic Breakthrough pills and blood stasis dispersing pills. You even refined Mystic Breakthrough pills for Shaolin and Father. How did you manage to concoct them in such a short time? The Crown Prince was extremely curious. Classmate Arbor looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. He raised his hand and patted the small porcelain jar. The lid opened, revealing 4 small pills that had already taken shape. You can use different herbs to put them inside and stew them together, right? Emolien! Exclamation point. You actually didn't explode like that. You're ruthless. But these pills are of different grades, and their attributes are different as well. Mixing them together to refine, no, to stew them. What are you doing? Xiao Mu had an expression that said, "You're so ignorant and inexperienced." That's why I said it's annoying. Furthermore, he had to constantly control the temperature of the fire, and he couldn't even take his eyes off it. How annoying. The most I've stewed is 6 Mystic Breakthrough pills of the same grade in one jar. Alba placed the lid back on the jar and waved his small hand. Don't worry, I'll be done soon. Is it time to eat? It's not time to eat yet, Emolien replied with a wooden expression. His wife couldn't be called a weirdo when it came to refining pills. She was simply a pervert. What should he do? Previously, it took me half an hour just to grind the various herbs. Baby, don't say such things in front of other pill refiners in the future. Emolien looked at him seriously and said. Why? Because you'll be beaten up by a group of people. He was so worried about his wife. It wasn't over yet. Chapter 650. The other pill alchemists were truly strange creatures. She was purely discussing the grinding time of medicinal herbs, stewing, pill refinement methods with them to promote mutual communication. She couldn't even do that? Looking at the Crown Prince's deeply worried gaze, why did she feel like the other pill alchemists would beat her up? That was impossible. Everyone was fastidious, so they had to do some upper-class fastidious things. What are these last 4 pills? The Crown Prince glanced at them. Aside from the faint purple veins on them, everything else felt about the same. Even the color was pure white, and the size and roundness were all carved from the same mold. They're just 4 body-tempering pills for my second uncle. Arbor skillfully slapped the small lid and took the 4 body-tempering pills into his hand. He carefully examined and sniffed them before nodding his small head in satisfaction. Emolien, I refined them quite well. Do you want to take a few to eat? Qingwan said they taste very good. Emolien, what the hell did he mean by taste very good? Could it be that in his darling's eyes, he was such a foodie? Arbor stuffed him with a body-tempering pill and 2 level 11 Mystic Breakthrough pills. These body-tempering pills are good for the body, so you should eat them. You don't have much use for Mystic Breakthrough pills, so give them to your subordinates. Jojo. Emolien pulled his small hand, touched. You're so good to me. Arbor turned to glance at him and nodded seriously. It's only right that I treat you well. You're also very good to me. Emolien almost laughed out loud. Look, his Jojo was such an honest darling. Emolien reached out to cup her small chin with a grin. Just as he was about to plant a kiss on her lips, he heard hurried footsteps outside the door, and Duan Yu's killjoy voice drifted inside. Chow chow. Time to eat. Emolien picked up that scalding pot of stew and threw it in Duan Yu's direction. Arbor immediately jumped up and shouted, Hey, catch. Don't break my medicine jar. Duan Yu originally wanted to kick it away, but when he heard Jojo's words, he quickly hugged the medicine jar to his chest and looked over in bewilderment. What is this thing? You 2 brothers, don't ruin it. If you want to fight, do it outside. I only have 1 pot that I can use to refine pills. If I break it, I'll have to find another pot. As she spoke, our dear Xiao Mu took back her jar from Duan Yu's hands with a treasured expression and ran to wash it. Duan Yu looked in bafflement at Emolien, who was walking over with her hands behind her back. What kind of mystic weapon is that jar? Look at how nervous Jojo is. Emolien rolled his eyes at him. It's just an ordinary pot of medicinal stew that I bought from a street stall. What profound artifact. Don't be ridiculous. Duan Yu, she's using this to make pills? No way. Emolien pointed his chin in that direction. Duan Yu looked in the direction he was pointing and saw a small stove. Duan Yu gaped. Tools for refining pills? Aba ran over after washing the jar. When she saw Duan Yu still standing at the door in a daze, she thought for a moment before taking out a body-tempering pill from her pocket and tossing it to him. This is for you. She gave the remaining 2 body-tempering pills to second uncle. Let's go eat. Aba put away her set of tools for refining pills and was led out the door by Emolien. She even looked back curiously at the dazed Duan Yu. What's wrong with him? Nothing, he's just a bit frightened by you. Duan Yu. Aba called out. Duan Yu hastily followed her out the door. Chapter 651. Duan Yu looked at Aba incredulously the entire way. Jojo, I must obtain the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron for you tonight no matter what. His Jojo actually used a set of goods from a street stall to refine pills. This was too much of an insult to her skills. I've already prepared the pills that person wanted. The earlier we finish eating, the earlier we can leave and the earlier we can return. Hopefully, that person was a straightforward person. Aba wasn't willing to waste his breath on others. Our dear Chao San was brought back from the academy by a servant, but he still cowered and evaded his eldest sister when he saw her. The family ate a joyous and harmonious meal. Aba took out the finished pills and gave them to father, second uncle, and Xiao Lin. The 3 of them were overjoyed, and they practically couldn't take their eyes off the pills in their hands. After we finish eating, we plan on going to Wuruan Pill House to see what exactly that medicinal cauldron that has been talked about looks like. Xiao Mu said, I'll be back later. Just send someone to leave the door open. Wei Ziqin nodded and instructed, don't be too late. Meanwhile, Xiao Lin and Xiao Sen gazed at their sister eagerly, looking like they wanted to go with her. However, due to their mother's fierce expression, they didn't dare to speak. Mom. Children, don't go jumping around so late at night. Your eldest sister is a pill alchemist. Wei Ziqin spat out these 2 words especially gloriously, her face practically glowing. Eldest sister is going to the pill house to handle serious business. You 2 should behave yourselves and stay at home. Don't disturb your sister. Xiao Lin and Xiao Sen looked at each other and drooped their small heads. Mom, it's fine. It's almost the new year, so the streets should be quite lively. Anyway, it's early after eating, so I'll bring them out for a stroll. They won't be back too late. Xiao Lin and Xiao Sen quickly raised their heads again, their round and bright eyes brimming with hope as they looked at Wei Ziqin. Wei Ziqin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at their antics, and she glanced at them irritably. Don't cause trouble for your eldest sister when you go out. I know. Mother, I'm very obedient. The 2 siblings hurriedly agreed. When they were eating, they also put in a lot of effort. Their hearts were about to fly out of their homes. After hurriedly finishing their meal, Aba and the 2 children boarded the Crown Prince's carriage and headed towards Wu Rundan. Xiao Yao didn't follow them. She politely bowed to Wei Ziqin, Qiao Zhongbang, and then went back to Nanju Garden to pack her things. This child, Xiao Yao, is getting better and better. Wei Ziqin sighed with emotion. She turned her head and saw her nephew, Qiao Hu, staring blankly in the direction of the other party's departure. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. Silly boy, you haven't seen Xiao Yao for a long time. Why don't you talk to her more? Isn't that so? Look at how silly he is. Why aren't you going? Second Uncle Qiao reached out and slapped his son's head. Qiao Hu jumped up and left in a hurry. The carriage rolled along Minshan Avenue for a while at a moderate speed. Before they reached Wu Rundan House, they saw that the road was already congested. Moreover, the snowy road was difficult to travel on, so two carriages actually crashed into each other and were stuck in the middle of the road. The servants of the two families accused each other and argued loudly. Aber lifted the curtain and peeked out to take a look. The road ahead is blocked. Let's get off the carriage and squeeze in. The transaction hasn't started yet. Let's go to the third floor of that restaurant. When the time comes, we can just shout. Emolien couldn't bear to let his little fellow squeeze in with a bunch of stinky men, so he pulled her little hand and pointed forward. Time to sleep. Chapter 652. Aber raised her small head. This three-story restaurant wasn't large, but it happened to be right next to the pill house, so it was already packed with people. How could there still be seats like this? This restaurant is actually still operating normally? What were they scheming? Aber was a bit curious. Those who sold sesame seed cakes would sell sesame seed cakes because they wanted to barter with others for other daily necessities. But a restaurant was different. A restaurant would definitely have a rich variety of dishes and ample wine. Of course. Emolien smiled at her and held her small hand as they walked towards the restaurant. There are 5 inns and restaurants in the entire capital that are operating normally. Of course, their prices are a bit higher. They don't buy gold, silver, pearls, and jade, but all kinds of forging materials, medicinal herbs, and at the very least, mid- and high-grade magnetite. Emolien leaned close to her and whispered, "This is a profitable business with little capital. That piece of supreme-grade blood-forged gold was bought from here." Darling Chow's eyes suddenly bulged as she looked at the crown prince like he was an unscrupulous merchant. She lowered her voice and asked, "This restaurant is yours?" Emolien nodded rather smugly. "How is it? Hubby runs a good business, right?" When Duan Yu heard this, he gave a disdainful harumph. "Using your power to bully others and plunder the people's wealth." Emolien cast him a sidelong glance and spat at him. What did a brat know? The night pavilion's intelligence gathering work had to be carried out in restaurants and tea-houses. All 5 inns and restaurants in the capital are yours? That's not it, there are only 3. As long as it's called Morning Cloud Restaurant, it's ours. Emolien led the little fellow inside. The innkeeper recognized the crown prince's identity at a glance, but he didn't dare to make a fuss. He only quickly welcomed them and respectfully escorted them to a private room on the 3rd floor. He arranged for a waiter to eagerly pour tea for them and then went to prepare the dishes. Emolien waved her hand and said, "Don't be busy. We just finished our meal and came over. Just some tea, pastries, and snacks will do." The innkeeper quickly agreed respectfully and quickly led people out to prepare. "Is business good here? This place is a little more remote, so the business isn't as good as the other 2 restaurants. However, due to the special circumstances of the past few days, the restaurant's business has improved a lot because of the pill house's auction. No wonder His Highness the Crown Prince is in such a hurry to cultivate a batch of edible vegetables. I reckon that if he continues to operate like this, his private stockpile of grain will be depleted." Duan Yu harumphed. The 2 children didn't interrupt, but when they saw that the tea and snacks were served, they happily ate them. Aber tilted his head and thought for a moment. If it's just vegetables, fish, prawns, and fruits for the 3 restaurants, I can think of a way. But there are fewer meat birds. Her Paradise Planet's vegetables and fruits, especially the peaches, were almost unable to store them all. However, he could take out some to supply them. There were plenty of fish and prawns in the lake, so Chio only needed to catch some casually. Even now, Paradise Planet was still not very willing to accept living creatures from the outside world. Therefore, it was very rare to put living animals from the outside world inside. Naturally, the poison-tailed butterflies that they had painstakingly reared in couldn't be treated as food. Those were her little companions. According to Chio, she reckoned that she would only be able to take care of some small animals and bring them into Paradise Planet after her cultivation reached level 13 Mystic Cultivator or above. At that time, Chocho wouldn't drag things out so tiresomely. Abba propped up his chin with one hand and looked back. He saw two youths looking at him, waiting for him to continue. Chapter 653. Unfortunately, she couldn't invite them into Paradise Planet to take a look, and darling Chiao was too lazy to explain so much. So, she looked at them and directly took out 2 peaches from Paradise Planet. Try it. It's a bit tastier than before. I can supply this kind of peach for a long time in the restaurant, but it can only be exchanged with medicinal herbs. Emolien was long accustomed to the little fellow taking out peaches from time to time. Duan Yu, on the other hand, was taken aback as he stared blankly at her. This peach, is it the peach from the paradise we went to back then? Duan Yu clicked his tongue in wonder. When he took a bite, he felt that the moisture was extremely good and the texture was excellent. It practically melted in his mouth and even converged into a warm current that merged into his mystic meridians. This was a rare and excellent product. There was a mellow mystic energy hidden inside the peach. Although there wasn't much, it was very rich. Just a few drops merged into the mystic meridians and it could cause a ripple in one's mystic energy. If he could feel it eating with his cultivation, it would definitely imperceptibly increase the concentration of mystic energy in his body if he took it for a long time. However, when he took a bite, he glanced over and saw the 2 children staring at him eagerly as if their saliva was about to fall out. What should he do when he suddenly felt like he was bullying children? Sister. The 2 children turned their heads at the same time and looked at their sister eagerly. Abba couldn't help but find it amusing, and she reached out to take out 2 ebony blue storage talismans. Here, I won't forget your share. She had already prepared them for her 2 younger siblings. There were over 1,000 peaches inside, as well as many other fruits and snacks, enough for them to eat for a long time. Don't be greedy and eat too much until you can't eat. Abba instructed. Drip a drop of blood to open the talismans. Try it. The 2 children cheered and put down the pastries in their hands. They bounced over and took the ebony talismans from her hands before going to play around by themselves. What Abba lacked the most right now were all kinds of talismans. After staying on Paradise Planet for more than 2 years, she would draw talismans to kill time when she had nothing to do. There were at least 1,000 assistive offensive talismans drawn from ebony. In addition, she had drawn more than 500 ebony blue storage talismans, so she didn't have to worry about her storage space at all. He didn't draw many summoning talismans, only about 40 of them. Now that he thought about the summoning talisman, he felt very depressed. Every time he summoned something, it was not very reliable. This time, he actually summoned a snake. He really did not like it. In addition, she also used ordinary blank talismans to draw many talisman formations in case of emergency. As a result, there were only 4,400 blank talismans in stock and 6,400 blank ebony in stock. Emolien, I want some more ebony. When Abba thought of this, he said excitedly, I've learned a new glyph array. However, drawing this glyph array on ordinary blank glyph paper might not be as effective as drawing it on ebony. 120 pieces of ebony will be used to draw this talisman formation, so it's better to prepare more. Alright. Emolien naturally agreed without hesitation. Ask Bailey she to get more. Ebony was not a rare item in the south, so Bailey she only needed to give an order to get it. Duan Yu asked curiously, what new glyph array did you learn? Our dear Duan Yu, who knew nothing about talisman drawing, felt that talisman practitioners were very mystical. Abba was a bit smug. Have you heard of it? Transfer glyph array. Chapter 654. After saying that, Duan Yu's mouth gaped open with a "you're so awesome" expression. The little fellow was quite pleased with herself. Right now, she was liking that golden talisman jade tome that inexplicably appeared in her conscious more and more. The talisman carving described in this golden talisman jade tome was truly too wondrous. It gave her a very novel feeling every time, intoxicating her with it. She wished for nothing more than to diligently learn more. Transportation talisman matrices are truly amazing. Emolien nodded and said, I've never heard of anyone from that talisman patrician family drawing transportation talisman matrices. What about this transportation talisman matrix? How far can it transport? MHM, based on my current talisman energy as an intermediate level talisman practitioner. The transportation distance I can draw is estimated to be within 5 kilometers. The number of people transported cannot exceed 5. The number of people transported cannot exceed 3 times in a row. The little fellow puffed up her cheeks. The number of people really is a bit low. However, this is only my estimation. I haven't really drawn it before, so I'll only know the actual situation after I draw it. When the two youths heard this, they both wanted to roll their eyes. Not bad, baby. After 3 consecutive teleportations, the 5 of them were already 15 kilometers away. Even if someone wanted to hunt you down, they would have to use an extremely fast flying mystic weapon or a very strong flying beast. Otherwise, they could only watch you guys die. Alright, I'll urge you on the ebony matter, Emolien said with a grin. Then what grade of medicinal herb do you want to exchange the peaches for? Arbor was at a loss when she asked this. She knew the quality of medicinal herbs, but she wasn't clear about their grades. That longevity flower was an intermediate-level medicinal herb, and it was that miss from the Pill Union who kindly told her. Can you give me a book on medicinal herb grades to look at? What Emolien took from the royal physician before were all unique medical manuals that didn't touch on the basic classification of medicinal herbs at all. Emolien and Duan you couldn't help twitching their mouths. Who would have thought that a fellow alchemist who could casually stew a batch of purple-veined high-grade pills with a small stew pot bought from a street stall actually wasn't clear about the basic classification of medicinal herbs? This little fellow only had experience and high-level knowledge, but her basic theories were very shallow. I don't need to read a book for this. The quality of medicinal herbs is similar to the classification of our forging materials. Generally, they were divided into low, medium, and high grades. Above that were yellow grade, black grade, earth grade, and heaven grade materials. The blood-forged gold I told you about before is a top-grade material that can be used to forge a level 15 spirit tool. That's why it's technically called an earth-grade forging material. Emolien explained to his little wife, generally speaking, we can call any material above the earth grade a top-grade material. Qiao Mu came to a realization. As for this peach of yours, if consumed over a long period of time, it can strengthen one's physique and also increase one's cultivation and profound energy. The profound energy contained within the peach is extremely dense and is not bad at all. I suggest that you at least exchange it with medicinal herbs of profound grade and above, so that you won't suffer a loss. Arbor nodded repeatedly. Then I'll leave it to you. Save me the trouble. Emolien naturally agreed with a smile. Arbor then gave her an ebony talisman that contained more than 1,000 peaches. When she turned around to look, she saw that guy, Duan Yu, looking at her eagerly. Thinking about how Duan Yu had helped her a lot, she couldn't favor one over the other, so she also tossed him an ebony blue storage talisman that contained a lot of peaches. She also gave him 2 empty storage talismans to store things. After a round of distribution, people were already shouting at the entrance of the pill house downstairs. Chapter 655. Emolien, I have a lot of vegetables and grain. If the restaurant doesn't have enough to sell, you can look for me, Arbor said to Emolien. Paradise Planet's vegetable fields had already reached a certain scale. Now that Chochio was bored out of his mind, he started thinking about planting food. Presumably, it wouldn't be long before Chochio built 2 more granaries to store things. Fortunately, Paradise Planet's surface area was very large. It was comparable to 5 or 6 times Shijio City's surface area, so it could do whatever it wanted. If there was an abundance of food production then, they might not be able to satisfy other needs, but they might at least be able to supply food to the capital first. Emolien smiled faintly and said, There aren't that many people in this restaurant usually. After all, the price is right there. How many people would be so extravagant as to spend so many magnetite just for a good meal? My stockpile of grain is enough for the time being. It'll be fine for at least a year or two. Did you forget that when we raided Qinghe town, I also took a lot of grain? Aber nodded. It was fine as long as there was no problem. Emolien, I have a batch of winter fruits in my stockpile. I can take them out. When the time comes, send someone to distribute them to the people in the shanty town on Shiluo Street. There were many incidents of smashing and looting on Shiluo Street. It was all because refugees from the outer city had gathered there. In the end, it was all because of the lack of food. Emolien was slightly taken aback. She shook her head and said, "There's no need for you to open up your personal stockpile. I'll take care of this kind of livelihood problem." He definitely had to leave his wife's money for his wife. How could he use her personal stash? Aber was silent for half a second. "The stockpile is almost full. You can just take it and distribute it. It's useless even if I store so much." Her stockpile of peaches was about to burst. Who the hell would still store winter fruits? After returning from the small banquet that day, our dear Qiao Mu had the sapling plant 50 winter fruit trees. Because this winter fruit could be planted even in a world of ice and snow, there were no suitable conditions for planting it. Planting it in a paradise was simply a waste of talent. In addition, Chochio had specially cultivated the little tree and used some unknown method to accelerate its growth. In less than 2 days, Chochio had actually harvested several batches of the 50 winter fruit trees. The fruits piled up to the height of a small hill on the ground. It was really annoying to look at. "It's delicious. I'm not lying. Why don't you try it?" Since she took it out to give to the victims, it was naturally something good. She would not cheat those poor civilians. The two men, cough, cough, cough. Duan Yu drank a mouthful of tea to calm his nerves before grabbing a winter fruit in passing. "Jojo, it's fine if you say that in front of us, but you mustn't say that to other people." "Why?" "You'll be beaten to death. Everyone else is rushing about for food, but you're worrying that the storehouse can't hold the food anymore. How can you endure this?" Aber nodded honestly and asked casually, "Is it delicious?" He saw his sister-in-law's 2 little heads nodding furiously. So bad, so bad. Sister, give me some more." This winter fruit tasted completely different from other stores' winter fruits. It was sweet and refreshing, and the flesh was so crispy that one almost had to swallow their tongue. Aber speechlessly glanced at the 2 foodies. Even something as ordinary as winter fruit was delicious? Helpless, he took out a lot more and had the 2 gluttonous little fellows store it in their storage talismans. Duan Yu lamented with a smile, "The taste is indeed not bad. Compared to ordinary winter fruits, it's sweet but not greasy, and the flesh is very crispy." Chapter 656. That's good. I'll put these winter fruits into talismans for you later. Take them to Shiluo Street's Shed District and distribute them, Aber said to Emolien. Emolien's heart naturally softened. She only felt that her wifey was incredibly considerate. Who said that his wifey was fierce? Look at how soft and gentle her heart was. Of course, this matter still needed to be discussed with the Ministry of Revenue. Merely providing financial assistance wouldn't solve the fundamental problem. The main thing was to make the young and strong work and distribute according to their work so that they would get what they worked for. Emolien temporarily suppressed these chaotic state affairs and pointed outside the window. "That person is the owner of the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron?" Qiao Mu hastily raised her small head to look down the window. They were all sitting by the window, and Xiao San even eagerly climbed onto the soft brocade on the windowsill. He propped up his chin and looked down. "There's no cauldron, sister. Since that cauldron is unusual, it should be able to change in size," Aber casually muttered. However, Duan Yu scoffed. "Don't be in such a hurry. Look, it can still change in size. It'll be out soon." Sure enough, it wasn't long before 3 to 5 burly men walked out, heaving a gigantic 3-legged copper cauldron that was more than 2 meters tall. Aber, the cauldron's body was inscribed with a very imposing 9-star design, with a crescent moon hanging high in the middle. It looked quite authentic. But it was so big. It looked like a fake. Emolien's mouth also twitched. Are you sure this is the legendary 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron? It couldn't be a knockoff, right? This person went to great lengths to take it out to sell every day. With so many witnesses, could it be that he still dares to take out a fake? Duanyu asked with wide eyes. Arbor pursed her lips. She felt that this cauldron was far from the exquisite and beautiful appearance she had in mind. This cauldron wasn't even as small and portable as her stew pot. Moreover, no one has subdued this cauldron before. If I can take it for my own use, who knows, I might be able to change its size at will? Duanyu harumphed. Emolien held her teacup and nodded. That makes sense. Get out of the way, get out of the way. A series of noises came from the entrance of the pill house. 2 rows of guards escorted the 3 of them over. Arbor recognized the person walking in the middle. It was the old-fashioned girl from the Alchemy Guild that he had met in front of the elixir house. He looked to be in his early 20s and had a tall and slender figure. However, his face had always been taut and was rather stern and old-fashioned. The 2 people next to him seemed to be over 40 years old. They should be important figures in the Alchemy Guild. Master Hong, this way please. The old-fashioned girl stretched out her hand and led a middle-aged man in his 40s to the red copper cauldron. Beside the red copper cauldron stood an old man. His back was slightly hunched, and his eyes were slightly sluggish as he looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man, Master Hong, glanced at the old man before his gaze landed on the red copper cauldron. He carefully sized it up and even touched it a few times. He then sneered, "What kind of material is this cauldron made of? You actually dare to carelessly pass it off as some 9 stars mirroring the moon?" The old man's eyes instantly widened, and he rolled his eyes. If this cauldron isn't the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron, this old man will be struck by lightning. I will die without a burial place. Master Hong's face darkened. You think I will believe you just because you say that? This old man isn't asking you to buy it. If you don't believe me, please leave. Master Hong harumphed. Chapter 657. His figure suddenly exploded, and he punched the red copper cauldron. The old man's eyelids didn't even twitch, but the cauldron didn't move at all. Master Hong, on the other hand, was knocked back several steps by the recoil. His eyes stared at the cauldron with some hesitation. Old Hong. The other middle-aged man from the Pill Guild frowned slightly and called out to him. At this moment, a plain voice suddenly floated down from the 3rd floor of the Morning Cloud restaurant. Her small hand pressed against the cauldron, and she said indifferently, "Can a level 11 mystic breakthrough pill and a stasis dispersing pill be exchanged for this cauldron? Here. Take a look." Without saying a word, he handed a small box to the old man. The old man's eyelids rolled slightly, and his eyes lit up as he received the box with both hands. He looked up at the little girl floating over and couldn't help but be secretly shocked. What a young little girl. Could it be that she became a pill master at such a young age? The old-fashioned girl glanced at Arbor a few more times and asked hesitantly, "It's you?" Although they had met in a hurry that night, she had always remembered the little girl who might be able to refine pills with purple veins. Although the little girl in front of her looked very different from that night, her eyes left a deep impression. Arbor nodded at the girl in a very friendly manner. Master Hong, on the other hand, shouted angrily at the top of his voice, "Miss, aren't you being a little too unkind by interfering like this?" Arbor glanced at that person and didn't say anything. He looked at the old man. "How is it?" The old man had already quickly checked the pills in the box. There was a level 11 mystic breaking pill and a blood stasis dispersing pill. There was not a single difference between the 2 pills. Both of them were high-grade purple-veined pills. The quality of their refinement was of the highest quality that had never been seen before. The old man's gaze was slightly agitated. "Aunt, May I ask who refined this high-grade pill with purple veins? This old man looked at its appearance and heard that its color was extremely good. In this capital city, there aren't many people who can refine pills of such quality. Arbor interrupted the old man's excited words. He didn't say anything else, and only glanced at the old man indifferently. Then it's a deal? I'll take the cauldron now. The old man naturally kept his mouth shut and nodded his head excitedly. Wait a minute. Master Hong's face was full of anger. He stepped forward and reached out to press the medicine cauldron. Arbor's eyes turned cold. He instantly flew up and slapped away Master Hong's palm. His small hand grabbed the medicine cauldron and lifted it up abruptly. The surrounding onlookers were all dumbfounded and tongue-tied. Under a giant cauldron that was more than 2 meters tall, a slim little girl raised the cauldron with only 2 fingers and stared coldly at Master Hong of the Alchemy Guild. I don't like other people touching my things, Arbor said coldly, but she saw Master Hong's face changed greatly and rushed towards her. Wait. I also want to buy this cauldron. Gee, Arbor snorted coldly. His body leaped lightly and directly jumped into the air. He reached out his hand and patted the medicine cauldron neither lightly nor heavily. A wisp of profound energy was suddenly injected into it. The medicine cauldron exploded with a colorful light in the air. In just a moment, it disappeared in front of everyone. Master Hong was so angry that he almost vomited blood on the spot. Time is fleeting. It's your lack of foresight that doesn't know how to grasp the present. Arbor coldly threw his words at him, making people feel stifled. She didn't even look at Master Hong and went straight back to the restaurant. See you tomorrow. Oh, I've adjusted the time to daytime. Chapter 658. On the other end, Duan Yu and Emo Lien had just finished half a cup of tea. When they saw the little girl bouncing back from the window, they couldn't help but chuckle. Where's the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron? Summon it out for us to see. Arbor beckoned with her hand, and a palm-sized red copper cauldron flew out of her conchs and landed on the table in front of them. TSK, it really is a weapon whose grade can't be determined. Emo Lien sighed softly before taking the red copper cauldron and examining it carefully. Only one of the 9 stars mirroring the moon pattern on this red copper cauldron emitted a stream of light, but it made the cauldron's body look very beautiful. Duan Yu also took it for a look, but he ultimately couldn't discern anything. He merely shook his head and said, I also can't determine its grade. Arbor tilted her head with a bit of pride on her face. Jojo is very decisive and has excellent judgment. When she saw that Master Hong's palm strike on the cauldron didn't even budge it in the slightest, she knew that this item must be extraordinary. Even if it can't be used to refine medicine in the future, it'll be good to take it out to block someone's attack at a critical moment. When she thought of this, the little fellow couldn't help but be exhilarated. Duan Yu, try hitting it. Right now. Duan Yu's eyes widened. Arbor nodded repeatedly. Try. Let's not. If I break it, where am I supposed to compensate you with a handy cauldron? Just hit it if I tell you to. Arbor spat out mystic energy, and the cauldron grew in size. She firmly grabbed one of the cauldron's legs and lifted it into the air. The little fellow sat there motionless like a mountain and blinked at him as she shouted, Come quickly. Then you have to be careful. Duan Yu made a hand gesture, and a defensive boundary was set up around the little fellow. Subsequently, a dense mystic energy pounced and heavily slammed into the cauldron from top to bottom. However, the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron remained motionless. Arbor's small hand was slightly numb from the shock of Duan Yu's mystic energy. He quickly recalled the small cauldron into his conscious and massaged his aching wrist. When Emo Lien saw this, she quickly grabbed Duan Yu's petite hand and rubbed it. She grumpily glared at Duan Yu and reprimanded, You didn't know how to control your strength. Duan Yu was also anxious. He stood up and walked to Arbor's side. Jojo, did I hurt you? No. Arbor shook his head. It's just a little shaky. Duan Yu, how much mystic energy did you use earlier? I've already used 30% of my profound strength. He was wrong, he should have only used 10%. Arbor, get the hell out of here. The little fellow stretched out her little foot and stomped on Duan Yu's foot in a huff with a look of disdain. Scram scram. He had only used 30% of his profound energy and it was enough to make her wrist hurt. How infuriating. Is Jojo mad at me? Duan Yu actually turned to look at Mo Lien, who was chuckling on the side. Mo Lien glanced at him as though she didn't see him. She then carried Arbor over and continued to massage her petite wrist. She even instigated, "Don't be good friends with Duan Yu in the future. It's simply baffling, using 30% of your strength to hurt our Jojo." That was right. It was better not to have any friends. Arbor nodded. Duan Yu, Jojo. Duan Yu hastily expressed his stance and coughed lightly. Although I'm only slightly better than you in terms of cultivation, think about it. You know how to refine pills and draw talismans, but I'm completely clueless about both. So you're still the formidable one, right? Arbor glanced at him and pondered for a moment before nodding. She felt that Duan Yu was completely right. Chapter 659. Mo Lien whispered into her ear, "Darling, you might have really picked up a treasure this time. This medicinal cauldron could even block 30% of Duan Yu's attack without any fear, and the cauldron's body didn't even flinch. I reckon it's completely fine as a defensive shield in a critical moment." See, that was what she was thinking. Arbor reached out and patted Mo Lien's shoulder, giving her a great minds think alike expression. Her thoughts always coincided with Mo Lien's, making her feel that classmate Mo Lien was perhaps the person who understood her the most in the entire world. Even if this medicinal cauldron wasn't a vessel that could be used to refine medicine, it wasn't a loss for her to exchange 2 pills for a defensive shield. Seeing her adorable expression, Mo Lien couldn't resist pinching her ears. Before she could say anything, she heard the door to the room being kicked open with a bang. The door panel bounced back violently, almost hitting the person who kicked the door open in the face. The old-fashioned girl followed Master Hong in awkwardly and glanced at Arbor apologetically. "Sorry for disturbing everyone." "Old Hong." Another man in his 40s from the Pill Union frowned and looked at Master Hong, whose behavior was out of line, with disapproval. They had indeed rushed here to exchange for the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron after receiving Chan Huron's news. However, it was Old Hong who didn't believe in someone else's medicinal cauldron in the first place and lost the initiative, allowing the little girl to obtain it. There was no right or wrong in this matter. Old Hong appeared too overbearing by refusing to let go of the little girl like this. The old-fashioned girl, Chan Huiran, also looked at Master Hong in displeasure. "Master Hong, quickly leave with us." Forcefully barging into someone else's room truly made her feel humiliated. No way. What use does a little girl like her have for that 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron? Didn't she take it because she found the medicinal cauldron fun? Master Hong said unreasonably, "Moreover, we were the ones who took a fancy to that cauldron first. How can we let others benefit from it? Could it be that our Pill Union is afraid of a few mere youngsters?" "You." Chen Huron's long, shapely eyebrows furrowed as her face tightened. She suddenly flung her sleeves and retreated to the side. "Simply unreasonable. Grandmaster Hua, I won't interfere in this matter. Let him be." Bang! Master Hong took out a small box from his bosom and heavily placed it on the table. "Here are 2 level 11 mystic breaking pills and 1 blood stasis dispersing pill. Take it as a bargain for you. Hand over the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron." Inside the room, Jolin and Jolin opened their mouths slightly. They looked at the middle-aged man who had suddenly barged into the room and spoke very impolitely. Mo Lien and Duan Yu continued to drink their tea. They merely glanced indifferently at that idiot who barged in but didn't say anything. A moment later, the people who were gathered in front of the pill house and discussing heatedly turned their heads to take a look when they heard the sound. Master Hong, who had just aggressively gone upstairs to pick a fight, was kicked out of the restaurant by someone. At this time, he was lying flat on the street. A small box was thrown out of the window on the third floor and directly smashed into Master Hong's old face. It bounced a bit before falling to the ground. The box opened, and 2 to 3 pills the size of date pits rolled out from within. An icy voice drifted into the ears of everyone on the street. I would be embarrassed to even gift pills of this quality to a beggar. You should keep them for yourself to slowly eat. Chapter 660. Little Miss You. Master Hua, who had followed Aba's group from the third floor to the first floor's lobby, was fuming. This was really not giving him any face at all. This girl directly threw one of their Pill Alliance's great masters out of the restaurant onto the street. She made their Pill Alliance's Master Hua fall on his back in full view of everyone, making a spectacularly humiliating fool of himself. Although Old Hong's actions were truly out of line, but that was their Pill Alliance. No one had ever disrespected their Pill Alliance like this. Aba's group walked out of the restaurant without looking sideways and directly boarded the carriage. Mo Lien and Duan Yu glanced at the little fellow's displeased expression and silently stifled their laughter in their hearts. The two of them understood the little girl too well. The little girl was probably still quite angry right now. Someone had inexplicably forced her to buy and sell, so she would definitely be very unhappy. Was the little girl someone who lacked medicinal pills? She was too blind. Go to the Marquis's estate first. Mo Lien coughed lightly. The carriage driver immediately responded and flicked his whip, driving the carriage towards the Marquis of Jiyuan's estate. Master Hua still wanted to go up and reason with Aba's group, but he was stopped by Chen Huiran. Huiran, why are you stopping me? I have to reason with that girl. Look at this, she's blowing up the matter. She's simply a newborn calf that isn't afraid of a tiger, completely disregarding our Pill Alliance. Master Hua was so angry that his face was flushed red. What do you want to reason with? Chan Huiran pulled a long face and bluntly said, the little girl obtained the 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron with her own ability. Our Pill Alliance had to bully others and force a sale to snatch the medicinal cauldron back from the little girl's hands? Is this honorable if word of it gets out? Does it make the Pill Alliance proud? You. Master Hua was momentarily at a loss for words. He flung his sleeves and turned his head away with a huff. At this time, the 2 medicine apprentices from Wuruan Pill House had already helped the disgraced Master Hong up and walked to Chan Huiran and Duan Yu's side. Master Hong's old face flushed red. His lips trembled as he said resentfully, I will not let this matter go. Whether it was in his family or in the Alchemy Guild, Hong Cheng was a well-known figure. Who wouldn't salute him respectfully and call him Master Hong when they saw him outside? But it was such an unknown little girl who actually dared to talk nonsense to him and criticized his medicinal pills as worthless. He even said that even gifting it to a beggar was not good enough. It was simply infuriating. Chan Huiran sneered and said to Master Hua, Master Hua, I will return to the Alchemy Guild first. Hong Cheng angrily glared at Chan Huiran's back as she left. He turned to Hua Feng and said, Master Hua, look at her attitude. You're just a mere mid-level alchemist in the Pill Alliance. How dare you be so rude to me, a high-level alchemist? Hua Feng persuaded Hong Cheng and pulled him back because he felt that many people were looking at them on the street right now, which made him feel even more humiliated. However, a seed of hatred was planted in Hong Cheng's heart. He felt that the stoic-faced little girl had trampled all over his dignity today. He would definitely seek revenge for such an insult in the future. After returning home from Aba, she bid farewell to Mo Lien and Duan Yu and directly sent her 2 younger siblings back to their respective courts. She didn't take such a trivial matter to heart. After returning to Nanju Garden, she had long tossed that miscellaneous person beyond the highest heavens. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.